Already putting the bucket eliminator together. Here's the inside of this mill looks like. This piece, I had to replace this piece back in 2012. I went through and rebuilt this mill and put new bearings in it and whatnot. I had it all tore down. This, I had to put the new vertical shaft that runs through there, which you tighten that knob and that adjusts how tight, how close the burrs run together. And I had put this piece on because it had froze up on this shaft after it had sat a while. And then it, when we did finally get it loose, or no, I take that back. There's a bearing inside that this shaft rides on. It had froze up in the bearings that I couldn't adjust it. And then this piece had gotten a lot of slop on this shaft. And so I went ahead and he actually had this piece brand new. The guy who runs this, or who still has a few parts of these mills, had that piece, and he made it's a machine shop, and they actually made me a new shaft. It's just mild steel, and they machined the keyway into it. And then they sold me that new cast piece, and I kept all the old, actually the old shaft is laying right here. That's what it looks like. It sits in there like that, and there was a bearing that this thing had froze up on in here, so it couldn't move up and down. That cast piece sits on top of that. But it's kind of got some wear around it and whatnot. So we'll keep it around in case we ever need a big shaft or something, or a big piece of rod. But I got to this piece. Obviously the burrs sit on there, and then this piece sits on here. And then this piece goes on, and then this piece goes on the top, and I got to change. And I took it all apart because I wanted to I think one of the burrs, it might have moved a little bit because I was having trouble getting it to grind the way I wanted it to. I'll show you that here in a minute. But then I got to change that top piece and put this on so that that thing in here will sit in there and catch it and turn the gearbox up here. This piece, I didn't realize this piece is actually a little different than that one. I could get this gearbox and everything to bolt onto my original piece there, but I think I'm probably going to take those 3 hand screws loose and just change the whole thing so I don't have to switch all this onto that piece. The only thing I wish this one had a better decal, but I don't think it's really going to matter. And this has got this heavy cast base here, as where this one doesn't, so probably end up putting that whole, I was originally just going to change these pieces in the gearbox onto that, but it'll just be easier just to move the whole thing over. And then here's how this thing goes on here. Sure, that's just all sitting in there nice. And there's a sharpened set of burrs. Elijah Raines, he just bought one of these mills actually, and I was going to sell him a couple inner burrs that came with the pile of parts I got because his inner burr was broke. So I got to send those off to you. But you can see it's sharpened. I had these burrs sharpened when I rebuilt the mill. It drops in there. And these things are always kind of a pain. They seem to be a little bit out of round, which this outer burr doesn't sit in here the best, and I think as things just wear, you know, it gets out of round, and then they resharpen them. They actually hand sharpen these things. Then this one, it's just got 4 tabs here that go in that spot, those spots there, and hold them. And I'm going to mess this a little bit and make sure I get it all centered in there nice and everything. So, alright, I got the top piece off. And there's 2 draw bolts. You got to draw that one down, and then there's a bolt on this side you got to draw down evenly to get it to that. This piece smashes that outer burr down and holds it in place. And you can hear it just barely hitting the burrs just a little bit, and that's about usually where I run it. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but that inner burr is out of round just a little bit, and it keeps moving just a little bit. There's not much you can do about that. I lined it up, took the slop out in the direction of the low spot the best I could, but that's about usually where I run it. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you this. This is what the gearbox looks like on the inside. Pretty simple. It's got a right angle gear set and full of grease. I wiped a lot of the grease out. It didn't look too bad though. It doesn't look like it's got any water in it. It's just black grease. Must have been the color the guy used. I'll probably go ahead and put a whole tube in it and just give it something to run in, but it looks pretty good. The bearings are good, so. Alrighty, we're making some headway here. Yeah, crap, I'm probably gonna take this. Now I can just turn the water. Up just a little more, there we go. Get it to plop down in here now. Hoping I never have to get into the burrs. That's gonna be a pain in the butt. Before it was 3 bolts and I had the burr, or 5 bolts and I had the burrs out. Well, not anymore. One side is bent a little bit, and I've got another one of these plates, but I'm gonna see if I can get it to straighten in here. Dad's not here right now. Whoa. Might have to wait for a 2-person. Might be a 2-person deal here. Now, the front side. Now it's still in on the other side. Almost. Come on. Looks okay on that side. Fine, drop in there. There's one side. On that side, let's see. Well, I'll come back to you. Alrighty guys, go back working on this here Sunday afternoon. Total 3.5 inches of rain. You can see we got rivers and whatnot. But anyway, got it all set up. Got me a flat chain to go on there. Originally how they had this thing, the back of this carried, is I had to make that piece because the other piece is probably still on the mill this came off of. But anyway, you'd put that rod there and you'd pick up on that end, and then this pin would drop in there and hold it up. The problem with that is there's so much weight cantilevered back there. It looks like they busted this once before and welded it, and I just didn't like how much weight was hanging on it. So we had a bunch of these little tires off an old row crop cultivator. So I took 2 of them and made this deal up here, and it just kind of follows behind. It doesn't track perfect all the time. I welded the stops on it there, but there's not much weight on it, and they're slick little tires, so they spin and it mainly just carries the weight. So that's what I was wanting it to do, and you can back up with it too. It works pretty good. And then when I want to grind, I'll just loosen those 3 knobs and spin the elevator to the side to wherever I want it and tighten them back up. And then to get the elevator down lower, just take that thing out like that, and then I'm ready to grind. And then when I'm done, set it back down on there. But you probably want to see it run here for just a bit. Got a lot of slop in it, but if I take one link out of that chain, I can't even get it hooked, so like whatever. I haven't ground any corn with it yet. I'll do that tomorrow when the chance of rain is less. It dribbled a little bit out the bottom there because it doesn't fit real tight, but can't do much about that, and I'm not going to lose like 2 handfuls. I can stand here and regrind it if I want to. But I think it'll work pretty good, so thanks for watching.